Oregon now to see how this first map will play out.
Are you okay?
I'm trying to find the sound.
No, I just noticed. I was going to keep casting and then you were starting to throw some gestures.
It's been a while since
it's been a while.
It's like, which one
We're
do I
back in the
need?
studio. I love it. It's nice to be here.
Yeah.
It was obviously the home of the wonderful CL talent.
For a while, but we kicked him out again.
We kicked him out again. It would be nice to have said hi. And then we got here and found out that they'd broken a drone.
Yeah, they have. I've started into investigation.
An investigation has been launched.
It wasn't the Dutch.
But you're a bit biased.
Now it's confirmed it wasn't the Dutch.
Okay, but I've also had confirmation that it was the Dutch.
Well, I've had confirmation.
Ladies and
from the person who
gentlemen
gave the
and all my
confirmation
non-binary
that the confirmation was not
outside
actual
there.
confirmation.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this story can go around. We need to just get to the bottom of this. There's a lot of amazing props in this set. You guys have obviously seen it over the past year. We'll talk about these bands in a second. A lot of amazing props in this set. We let, the wonderful CL team, Anne, Antox, Ian, Demo, and Ollie came out here, did fantastic shows, amazing shows for the build-up tour of this tournament. And and then we have this cute little drone guy. They did some content with the drone.
A flat tire now.
And then the drone is now slightly damaged, missing a bit of flight. It could be fixed. It's not entire, but
of course. It was still in one piece though at the end of the show. So
that's what they say, but how can we trust them?
Because I checked the vault.
Okay, well I guess Justin. Okay,
let's get into the game.
Look at these player cards. Look at these new player cards. There's a cool sledge one. That's quite high in the battle passes.
I have it already. It's before 65.
Yeah, you're at level 65 already.
Yes.
You're really making sure you get to the end. New launch, new battle pass, new cards, new cool stuff. You can see the people that have gone through the decoration. Virtua and Junga, they don't.
No, they don't.
They don't mind.
It's like, let's just run the default. It's been good enough for a while now.
Oregon. We find ourselves starting here, and obviously the conversation now, as I said, we'll talk about operator bans now, because it's better to get it all when it's together. The Goyo is probably the most poignant removal here.
Yep.
Obviously, the limitation of hard destruction, it being a thermite raises a couple of potential questions, but they're very quickly answered because usually, Ace is a lot more of a reliance for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
There's not really too much hatch play. There's only really one E-box often here, but sometimes teams extend up there nowadays anyway. You're looking at the end of Attic. You're looking at walking if you're taking onto dorms. The Thermite makes that a quicker and easier job, but I don't know, pulling it out, I guess it's sort of a particular removal that they think. And then the Falcon, the Thatcher, that's just standard play. So the Goyo, a bit of focus there.
Yeah, of course, shields are always quite useful, especially down below. You gotta think of elbow there, where a shield is on the corner, and potentially a shield right next to the door as well. You're gonna have to bring operators that bring them as their secondary gadget, which means that you might miss out on other stuff. A Citizen opens up the score. It's Bride taken care of. It's one of the two hard breachers that BDS no longer have access to now, which means that the hatches will be tougher to open up. Of course, still, the Maverick, the man that doesn't care about electrification at all, just uses that blowtorch to open it up. Just takes a little bit longer, though.
Obviously means that they've got to try and get the recollection on that diffuser as well. Bride, the first to find the fight, and it was a bit of a surprise on a double door sprayed through, but here, they're going to see if they can instantly try and build behind it. Shaiko's going to put some pressure onto Freezer. There is some of that coming back. They're hoping they go for the hop up onto the lockers so they can just get the catch on the cheeky angle. Maybe they don't think that Shaiko is as deep as he is, but they're not going to take that risk. They're more than happy to try and take the fight around the corner. As you look on the far side, the tower stairs, the big rotations coming through. As I said, E-Box is often the sort of lead in here, and they've sort of picked up on that idea. They're a man down, so why not try and take some ground without having to force yourself to the fight, which is what this pillar take is. You can sort of force people out of positions by opening up this hatch and then pulling them away from Harry Potter, pulling them away from that pillar position, which they often like to play quite aggressively.
Something, though, is with the lack of a Hibana now, that double wall next to E-Box will stay closed, and with that, Hungry, his position is quite safe now. Only really has to worry about the member onto the back stairs here. Shaiko wants to open up onto the freezer, wants to get that very first kill. Unfortunately for him, though, not granted it yet. He just continues to hold the jump up there, wants to make sure that he's ready once it comes in, but a yellow ping here might guide the Lambs to a kill with a grenade.
That's it. They're just trying to see if they can get the swing in the side of somebody, and they're not quite able to find the connection that they're after. The sprays come through and the bodies go down. Hungry suffers, but Rafal is also down in the meantime, and look where that diffuser is. Oh, that's kind of firmly in the G2 territory. Now then, as they're starting to see if they can just spray anything either side of the pillar, it's becoming a little bit of a congestion here. 40 seconds, they have some time, but they have barely any health in the pockets around Shiro, and it's down to Shaiko, who obviously hasn't really been able to impact this round pretty much at all. As of yet, he was that anchor and that anvil on the far side of Freezer for the longest time, but nothing ever really came towards him. So he's now in a situation where he's just got to try and drop it like it is, and it's hot, but it's dropped. And it's G2 that are able to pull the first round.
A kill came from it, but not much more than that. It's G2, as you just mentioned, the first one on the board. And we saw how Oregon went in the game we had beforehand. It was a 5-1 scoreline. So let's see if we are heading towards a similar trend where the defenders have that favor, or if we're going for a completely different one, completely different narrative, where BDS is going to be the one running away with a 1 first half. Now, we are heading up to the kids in the dorms. That side is normally considered the primary site. Many teams go there first instead of the basement. So maybe, just maybe, they caught BDS a little bit off guard there. Of course, drones should have quickly notified the rest of the team of that. So the spawn peak, absolutely no excuse for that. Gotta make sure that that doesn't happen again, especially not Breed A. Member who has so much clutch potential on the side of BDS, but is also running a very important heart breacher.
So, G2, you're after a little bit of a start here, and okay, it's the first round of a best of 3 in an EUL Finals, but the hopes weren't high for G2, based on obviously recent performances, recent results. They were so close to not being here. It was a head-to-head that decided that they got the 4th spot. If they hadn't have had such a good second stage and that honeymoon period with the new players, they wouldn't be here. And that's the difference. Whereas with BDS's performance, you could have taken G2's best stage and added the same amount of points again to G2's total tally and given them a 4th point score, and they still wouldn't have matched BDS's for the whole year. That's how good BDS have been this year, and that sort of level is one that they've always sort of been steady on, whether it's in the league play online or at majors, which they've been a frequent sort of face at. They've generally been pretty steady.
That's it, right? BDS does qualify for the majors, did qualify for the 6th Invitational. Again, it's just that we're waiting for that result to come out on the actual major or SI stage. Those seem to be lacking a little bit behind. And of course, last year they played the European League Grand Finals against G2 as well. They lost that one out due to a toe shot, really, that went on in map 1, I believe it was, Theme Park, which proved to be very crucial at the end of the run. So you never know. You got to make sure that you put this first map on the board as quickly as possible. And due to leading now and a lot of time being wasted, BDS, they need to start opening up soon, but they spot that rotation into the games room, and that might prove a little bit difficult, as there is always that opportunity to go for that swing for G2 there.
That's it. Shaiko once again finds himself trying to bait into an angle, but this time he's being a little bit more of a pressure point for them. Virtue's ready and waiting underneath split. They can potentially go for a bit of a swing or a roam, but there's still a lot of time for them to burn through. May as well hold off for another 40 seconds, apart from unless everything starts to fall apart inside the site itself as the slow creep comes through. They're trying to get the control of the bedroom extension here, but Shaiko, again, as you're seeing him now, it's very different to how he was holding onto the freezer angle. He was sort of waiting for the pressure, waiting for the bait here, and well, there's no more waiting going to come through. Virtue, he's crept his way down via Zulu. He's going to see if he can take the fight, but it is being watched. Hungry was there as a bit of support, but as Brede takes the first fight, that's an important pickup from Alems. Hungry bites back, though. Now he's going to swing up the bottom. Didn't expect it so quick, and as Brede sticks the plant, it's just Citizen left. He is the back corner of the site itself, but there's nowhere he can really go. They seem to have an idea on his number. He's going to find the first and swings round, goes for the second and finds it too. And now in a 2 versus nobody. Brede gets some revenge there just as Citizen started to do Citizen things.
Yeah, he was about to pull off that magic there, but still 2 members left, and he had no clue where they were. Of course, had a hunch that one could be inside of games right after the plant went down, but was maybe afraid someone could be in the kids' bedroom as well. 1-1, BDS tie up the score for now. That is more like we used to be seeing from them. As we're heading towards the tertiary site here, G2 is deciding to not rerun that top floor. It fell out of their hands quite quickly. As soon as BDS started to pull that trigger, there was nothing they could do to hold it back. Also, of course, some Virtue trying to go for a bit of a flank below. Didn't really work out. In the end, Hungary was there for support. They got a trade kill, but in the end, they left with a -1. And now the big question is, where is this hold going to be taking place? Are we going to see the Frost, for example, really play up in that top floor, in the small tower? Or are they going to be trying to neglect that? There is, of course, no Thermite. Thermite, often an operator used to, well, place on the ground, which would open up the reinforcements as well, that Jonka is currently making some lines of sight in, together with just one reinforcement. So there is no real need for that. So it really depends on what BDS want to attack from.
So, Citizen, triple in the first round and a double in the second. He seems to be at the pace he wants to hit, but the worry is never really him. As they talked about it on the desk, sometimes the lack of attention paid by some of the rest of the G2 players when we know what they're capable of is that down to the moment. During that second split where they were at their strongest, a lot of them had these pop-off moments. Obviously, Virtue is one of those players who can have huge games. Kayak, the consistency of him being that lock-off at the end of the round. And even recent games, we've seen Hungary and Kayak especially have these big moments. And this is, I guess, the time for them to show it, because that honeymoon period can only really last for a certain amount of time. There's a bit of a gambit and a gamble, but no one was close to suffer the consequences.
Suppressor on the AUG is what he's currently running. LMs in the meantime, they're already inside of Attic. Spots out of Frostmad as he jumps down. Managed to find out that the Frost is holding a close angle as well before the drones even came in. Will not be caught as a result of that. Opens up the hatch and continues the pressure down into that top floor. All 5 members are around that side. 3 upstairs, 2 below. BDS, they surely want to try and take control of this area. But it wouldn't be surprising to me if they just go for meeting and open up onto the B-bomb side as well. And just maybe go for a plant right behind the paper stack.
Well, he's been able to get over the hot hop there, but they've had to pull back how aggressively they're holding it. There goes the drop down through the kid's hatch, and now they're going to see if they can try and pinch the players. They just clear that space above and find the pocket here towards that default plant spot behind the stacked boxes. Kayak swings wide just to see if he can put some pressure in. He's not entirely under an intense bout as of yet, but he's going to open himself up, potentially a rotation underneath, and maybe dig in either of the 2 other staircases. They both lead to what can be a bit of a bite on the backside of BDS at this moment in time, and there he goes towards the tower side, and he might strike through. In the meantime, Virtue is the first to suffer.
Jonka in a key position here to stop this plan from BDS from happening. They need to get security control, and they need to get some control in the kitchen itself as well. As Virtue's playing around there, but he gets caught off. Lems picks him up through the hatch. Kayak, however, is in a key position here, has the opportunity to rotate in and go for a big flank as Citizen strikes back.
Now, Kayak goes for a slow creep up the stairs, but with 50 seconds, he's got to time this perfectly. Rafal is the one that might potentially get punished. No. Drops away. Thought he might have been caught on a drone there, and you can see Rafal has all the attention and focus paid through. He was revealed, and luckily for him, that intel's played towards him. So instead, he goes for the main entrance staircase itself. Citizen's still on a mission to try and retake, and Renshiro's going to make that a bit tougher. But there's Kayak. Strikes through one, and there's Citizen. Strikes for a second. Another combo of kills, and BDS puts the balance back into even halves. 2 versus 2. And Hungary is the last one inside the site itself. He knows where the breach is, but with 15 seconds, they've got to make a very quick decision here, and it's going to be for the split push. Citizen has the call on the procs. They're actually going to go wider and wider, but there it is. Hungary strikes from the important side. BDS knows that he had to at least try and take the vertical side here. Can't quite find anybody in time. And G2 find a second round.
Timer runs out indeed, and G2 get their second, and that means now as well the bottom floor will unlock. And surely they will head back down there. Given the fact that they already had some success there. Given the fact, of course, that they did have a spawn peak kill. BDS always softens up the attack just ever so slightly and allow them to really carry on through that round. But they do head back to laundry supply. Wondering if the Frost will stick. No, well, not.
There's your answer.
I was going to say, like, the Frost does normally give away it is not bottom floor. There is not many positions. I mean, there's no windows that you jump in from to hit the side. There's no staircases that go up, which are often a way to block lines of sight. So the Frost usually not as useful on a basement site compared to on a site which has many windows in it.
BDS off to a rocky start the first time they approached here. Obviously lost the man who usually you want coming into the flood at the end of your attack. BDS dropped from the door, and then they didn't seem to quite get a handle on how they wanted to approach. It was that running start that G2 hit that made them stumble. But have BDS now had a little bit of time to wake up? Is this going to be something where we see potentially a pick up sticks and a push from the opposite side instead, with a little bit more focus on what they can do against G2's defense? Or are they going to say, well, no, it's a take two, we're going to go with the same approach and see if we can lock it down here?
It's always that possibility. I mean, usually we do see a blue take. That comes down from the big tower together with the E-box and then barrels maybe as well. But ever so often we do see a complete laundry and freezer take to come through. As Hungry wanted to go for a bit of an aggressive peek there, but wasn't quite able to find a head. Nitro gets tossed out, at least gives away his position there. So BDS well aware that someone is active in T2.
That's it. It gives the reveal to Hungry that he was on drone, because those bullets came through with the idea of trying to hit somebody, and they weren't followed up by a body slipping past either. They knew that was a pressure, and just from putting that pressure onto that single window, they've been able to pull them out. Shaiko taken! As he said, the worst possible timing there. They thought they entirely had the drop, but Yonka swung up and suffered a huge amount of damage from it. But just having that extra split second is the one that they allowed him to get the lock in. Rafale is going to see if they can try and chase them downstairs, but once again, BDS are trying to rebuild from losing that early fight, and G2 aren't overextending. They've said, we've got it, we've got this advantage. We know that they still have to push the site, which is a heavy lock inside down here. Pull back.
So far, Shaiko also not really able to get into the game too much here, while Citizen does, of course, put them head-to-head against one another, where Des called Citizen the shadow of Shaiko. Currently, seems to be the other way around for this matchup. Question, of course, will remain if it stays the same. Electrified hatch will force BDS to rotate around. There's nothing he can do with the X-Kairos there. Needs Rafale to open up that hatch, and there's still plenty of fuel left, of course. First is focused on that freezer hatch, as a small portion of that push definitely will go that way.
Wow, just over a minute, and we're starting to see a slightly different take here. Obviously, they're opening up their hatches, and they still have Renshira, and potentially Rafale's going to stick around here, but this time there is the crossfire and the presence onto Freezer. Maybe they're trying to pull some bodies away from Pillar, make a little bit more of that approach something approachable, but either way, they're still just trying to find that first kill, and they are not being offered anything by G2, who are playing massively passively for the comparison of how they are at the start of their hold here. 4 players started this round off site, and as soon as they got that first kill, all of them fell back, and that puts BDS in this really tricky situation. But as I said, LM's making the creep through on the opposite side. They're going to not quite get that behind the chassis, but no one's there either way, so it gives the game away that someone's making an approach. Sprays through, doesn't quite get the connection. 20 seconds now, and they got to see if they can try and take the actual push. The first goes their way, the second goes back against them, and now they're going to see if they can lock it out. Citizen, once again, threads more than a kill around. There's one more. And if you said Shaiko hasn't quite shown up, Citizen definitely has. 8 seconds left. Renshiro at least gets some revenge. Can't quite get the connection with the next. All they got to do is sit and wait. But they don't even give them that. G2, third round.
Had the big LMG there, supposedly not having to reload, but the angles were set up by G2. And in the middle of that round, you might have heard a new sound. If you do not play Siege too much yourself, you just watch, you heard something that sounded like an EMP. And that's, of course, the new bulletproofs. The new bulletproofs that have that little EMP. And what happened is Hungry spotted that drone on the back stairs. Wasn't able to quite get that kill in. They used the bulletproof to get an EMP dart in there to make sure that that drone would temporarily be disabled and couldn't move through. At least that's what I assume was the plan right behind that. Of course, limiting the information as a result as well, allowing Hungry to continue playing where he did. And right now, G2 up 1-3. Citizen really coming to the party here right now. 10 kills after 4 rounds. That is definitely helping them across the line so far.
I mean, it's pretty good.
It's just pretty good.
2 triple kills, 2 double kills. over 4 rounds. He has come here to try and put down the mark. And again, that's always that point is he is a brilliant player. And he is fantastic in these situations where he can sort of put things together. But this is where G2 have generally found a little bit more success. Ironically, their only 2 full-time or in standard play wins that they got over the recent split was against the 2 other French teams in the league. Yes, they beat Vitality and beat Heroic, and they were able to take themselves the full points from those games. They didn't. The BDS dispatched them 7-1.
Yeah,
on coast, but you never know.
So the thing here is as well, it's like there's not as much on the line for G2 during this game over the longer run. If they win this, you know, the next tournament they have, unless if they manage to qualify through the open qualifiers, will be the European League Stage 1. That starts somewhere after SI next year.
Yeah.
So it's a long time.
A while away.
BDS still have SI coming up. And, you know, we all put the pressure on them, saying that we want to get that result from them so badly, as Shaiko repels into a Frostmat on the other side of the armory. And I believe Yonka has heard that, wants to go on a bit of a salvation here, just to make sure they get that kill right before Rafale's able to repel up in time. And that means that yet again the opener goes to G2.
And that's very well played there from Yonka. Obviously knew where he had put that trap down and made sure that he was able to punish them, because you could see, as you said, the BDS team, the French players, were starting to swarm around that area. They weren't quite in a position to pick it up. Armory was a little bit free last time. This time, no, there was a big cost that Shaiko had to pay for the quick pressure he was able to apply last time round. G2 had a response, and they made sure that they were in a great position to push that further and further. Bride swings in now. He's going to see if he can put the pressure onto that shield play itself, but obviously we did see a shotgun not too far away in walk-in itself. So there's a lot of a cross angle. There's a lot of fear and a lot of danger that might start to come towards them sooner rather than later.
All being made to get a grenade through from Rafale. Will do so now as well to put up some pressure into the trophy side. Of course, no player there currently, but I believe there was some pieces of utility placed. At least that will be cleared out now. Bride continues to open up. You saw there was an aggressive hold that they used on the side of G2, but it has been closed off again. Might mess actually with the X-Cars right now, putting up a little bit of a reinforced bar in between, as Hungry still below. Could be coming in for a very big flank here if Alems doesn't hold it off properly.
Ranchiro waits for the swing, but Kayak finds it anyway. He had a bit of an idea that someone might come and find the fight, but I guess the little delay it took Kayak to get there was all he needed. There's the second pickup, potentially. They would have heard each other's audio, maybe heard the drone pop up, but cannot quite get it. Bride gets the swing back round, still massively injured and still a lot to do, and now even less to do it with as Citizen finds yet another round, yet another kill. There's a lockdown, yet another double kill for Citizen now, 12-2. And it's up to Bride with not much health, but he doesn't quite find it as Hungry locks it off. G2, 4-1 so far.
Yeah, they're off to a flying start here on Oregon. Of course, slightly defense-sided, we would usually say. A 4-2, maybe a 3-3 would be a pretty decent scoreline. However, we saw it earlier today as well with Empire. Taken up against Na'Vi, 5-1 is how they took that lead. It looks like G2 has the opportunity to do that themselves now. From there on, it's a very long way back for BDS. Of course, G2 are well aware of the comebacks that have happened to them over the last 3 stages. Often when they were in a 5-1 position as well, and you would be like, there's no way they throw that away. But they often did after that. Once they went over to the attack, they seemed to struggle there. Of course, they had some time to work on these issues. Weren't at the major. That is, to some, a gift. To others, a curse. Depends on how your form was in the previous stage. I think G2 have been able to benefit of that quite a bit. And, you know, their SI qualifier form might not be telling the story completely. Because now they're playing teams that they know. Teams that they have played against many times before and prepared against. Whereas in the open qualifier, you play how many teams? There can literally be hundreds of them. And some of them, there's no VODs on.
I think that's it, is we didn't see G2 pick up Oregon throughout their time playing in AUL Split 3 over the past 3 months, but we did see it as...
You need to run the same sites, the same operators, and the same equipment, I believe. So no changing of the secondary gadgets. You are, of course, allowed to place them in different positions because, well, some might have already been drawn out, for example. You can change that now safely, but that's all there is really to it. And we have seen this site before already. The setback then is, of course, the thermite is banned, which means that the dining area is a little bit more, well, defendable, considering the double wall will not just be blown away from up top, and there's nothing you can really do about it, considering now, you know, they just have the Maverick and the Hibana available to them.
Okay, G2, can you get yourself a 5-1 half here? Something that it's not, you know, to say that it's massively necessary. Obviously, we've had a little bit of a delay there, but I don't think BDS were going to call attack timeout. I think for them, they're still angling potentially to a 4-2. They're still happy with the game going at the pace that it is. They're not famously a tactical timeout team anyway. It's...
No, it's definitely not. And we've also seen that sometimes they didn't even use the coach, as Jonker, well, has picked up a Lems. And that is going to be the entry yet once again for G2, who are really on that roll right now. And Hungry playing in that small tower is going to be the factor why BDS decides to rotate around. You see Rafal, you see Shaiko, they're both going for the bedroom site now. Drones need to come in, though. They need to make sure that everything is safe before they start entering yet again, because, well, the missed drone, for example, has already caused Shaiko to die once due to a frost mat. That quickly got confirmed afterwards. That is something they need to prevent from happening, as Renshiro now drops into that frost mat. Surely Hungry has heard that, but they need to commit another player to it if they want to confirm that kill.
I mean, it's just another horrible situation for BDS. They've swung in. They've lost themselves to a frost mat. Obviously lost the engagement there against the Lems. Rafal finds Kayak and is going to try and draw some focus away from the potential of the hop in onto the window. If they can isolate the player inside the small tower, Bride
and Renshiro as well.
Yeah, I think they've just left him. I think they've sort of weighed up the risk because they know that a player's around there and they know that it's still a risky situation to try and go in for a standing 2 versus 1 because they still need somebody to hop in. They still need somebody to be the lead on a trade. They could potentially lose another body, and well, that grenade might do a little bit of work into adding some clarity of space. Hungry is still up there. Citizen finds Shaiko. Hungry finds Renshiro, locks off that kill, and now they've answered the question of are you going to get him? No.
No, Bride, he was close, but decided to just rotate off. It was too dangerous to go for that pickup there, and if you went for the auto window, you might have gotten into a frostmat yourself as well, and that will be double trouble. Either way, it's just 2 left now. Bride picks up a great kill onto Virtue from above, and that turns it into that 2v2 in a position now where they can go for a plant, and that's exactly what they go for. 40 seconds on the board, but it soon turns into 45 in favor of the attackers, as Citizen now knows they need to start heading back towards that site, as it is only up to him and Hungry now.
Very clever for them to go for the diffuser plant and see if they can get that secured here, and it makes it a little bit tricky. Obviously, they're going for the top-down take. They're going to make sure that the verticality is clear first of all, and they might be able to find a catch on an angle. Almost a toe through a floor. Hello? Is this a repeat?
Oh,
no, but it's a hell of a bit of intel there as they swing through and get the drop via the security room. Now Rafal all left, and all that is left with a sliver of health and barely anything else, but look at the timer on the defuse. They have to throw themselves into the room because, oh no, it's too late. At this point, they're not going to get there. They were just held off. Sure, you get a double frag at the end there, but you'd already won the round just because G2 didn't throw themselves through.
I'm not quite sure what the wait was for. I mean, the hatch was opened up, I believe. They could have just dropped that and then gone for the double peek through the security. I think that would have been a safer way to go at it. And BDS, they technically, you can almost say, get that round gift. Get the easier game now, you could almost say. They fortify themselves in the next 45 during the preparation phase. And after that, they just need to try and waste as much time as they possibly can to force G2 into making mistakes.
BDS with the Warden pick, with the expectation of potentially some quick play and flashes here. Obviously, there's a team that famously has a great Ying player. And this is a place where Ying could have a bit of a show of force, but you know, it's sort of an expectation as well. The pressure that could come against a Warden onto Trophy as an example behind a shield could be something that you could really reinforce against, regardless of the double window pressure that might come through. It's a curiosity of where Renshiro might be able to find himself locked in, and as they've got themselves a bit of a stretch and a spread here, the alibi's down underneath. What game is the Lems playing, do you think?
Trying to catch some of these players off guard, especially if they start pushing into the small tower. Him taking out these drones, there's going to be limited information here. I believe that might have even been a spot. One of the Prismas from Citizen. Not taking any damage there on the initial swing that LMs went for. He's definitely trying to go for the duel here as Citizen wins that one out.
Well, Citizen has kept his pace up here and able to find yet another round where he's been able to get a kill. I think every single round he's been able to at least find somebody. Pops the Prisma, but no one's there to respond. Rafal, a curious fight against Kayak.
He sees it as well.
Hid behind the sandbags and just pulls away before the window gets hashed through. He went for the hop out, hyper aggression. There was no way back in. But at that point, I mean, it was a risk, sure.
It was definitely a risk there, and a Citizen now taking care of those Prismas. Don't will no longer haunt him. Still has grenades available. He could be tossing up from right below. RC Roteros are getting rid of the utility onto those white stairs. That allows them to push in soon as well. And if you look at BDS, 2 people inside the attic, 1 inside games. Almost the entirety of the bunks is available to go for a plant right in that corner. If G2 realize that quick enough, but it seems like a bit of pressure comes in from the attic now as well. They might be pinching him right on. Virtue, what a shot is that? Wasn't even meant for the player in Shiro, but he manages to find him nonetheless.
There it is, G2. That team talk is coming through and paid in dividends right now. They have really kept that pace and that sharpness that they're able to apply on the openings of their defense. We talked about it. They led in with a foot first. They made sure that they were almost consistently on that early aggression, on that early interaction against their opponents, and here they've sort of kept that drive, and they're keeping it. They're keeping that pressure. It's a 5 versus 2. They have a minute to work this execute together. They've been able to get the clarity onto the double window and underneath. They're putting the pressure here onto that back line of the site itself. Shaiko is just on trophy door. He's trying to find somewhere to sit and maybe lead back in, but the drone's still going, still revealing where these players are, and you assume double window. No! Dropped and responded by Shaiko. The Jaeger finds a bit of pressure, and now, well, there's the response, the revenge. Citizen, 1 player left. It's a spray through on the window. They know exactly where he is, and Citizen, 1 more for the road.
He's just cleaning up the house right here. He's cleaning up Oregon. Just swings in and gets these kills so consistently every single time. That is going to be the true bane of BDS throughout this map, at least so far. Keep in mind, it could have been the 6-1 now if they would have dropped the hatch in the previous and last defense round that G2 had. But we will be going up to the 2-5 now. This is the opportunity that G2 will need to take to get that match point and make sure that they put up the pressure to BDS for the next 4 that will be played.
Look at that brand new Melusi Elite.
I like that one as well.
It's not the skin in the game.
No, of course, because that's not allowed.
Skins are banned, but the cards,
yes.
Wowee.
Regulations say you can only use the R6 share skins or the default skins.
Yep.
Nothing else. So,
there's one right now.
There's one, yeah. That's the NAL Smokes kit. There's, of course, the prize money that... it's not
Did you
really...
say that's the
NAL Smoke kit, yeah.
That was the Kavana skin.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the smoke that was walking around.
No,
bottom.
I was talking about the giant advert.
No, I was
screen.
looking at the players.
There's an Empire one.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
an Empire one. I was looking at the players. I'm like, yeah, they're using that skin.
No, I'm not looking that in depth.
See, NAL.
There is the
kit.
NAL skin.
See?
NAL also on this weekend.
Also on this weekend,
Yeah.
indeed.
They're like,
after us, I believe.
What was the comparison? They're like because we were joking about being the Suicide Squad. They're like the Justice League.
Oh, I don't know. When was that?
Oh, very early. That was like pre-call time level clever.
Was it
which
today?
isn't very clever at all. Yes.
Oh, well, I might have missed that one then.
Yeah, because you left us locked outside.
See, I was playing on my Switch.
Yeah.
But either way, it is 2:30 left on that clock. G2, they seem to be aware of a player inside of the attic, and as they open up that window, who just tries to swing through that? Shiro that almost loses his head, but comes away with not a single point of damage taken. Does find a drone, however, I believe, and takes it out. But that could have ended real badly there for BDS in the very first half a minute.
I mean, it was a decision to try and lean into a firefight. They had a little bit more of just a spray on a window. They seem to have a dedication on you. There is a little bit more of a direct spray. Lems is able to find Hungry, drops them from underneath and keeps that clarity for the first time in a while. It feels like BDS have got the upper hand early onto a round. And, you know, it's only the second attack that we've seen G2 try and put them on so far. But you compare this to how BDS opened the previous round, it was very aggressive. It was mobily aggressive as well. Lems was pushing into the approach here. This time, he's sort of let them fall into his trap, and he's been able to punish them because of it.
Still has the spot there on the player inside of the attic. More sprays are being attempted here, but shots are being fired back by Renshiro, who now uses his impact to try and fall back as Lems catches a grenade, but somehow still manages to live. He's still holding out here, still trying to waste some time, but his foot is being shut off by Yonka. That turns it back into a 4-on-4, and 90 seconds or a little bit less still on the clock, so plenty of time for G2 to start working towards the actual site.
Well, now is Kayak's going to see if he can potentially go towards the hatch itself. Shaiko is still obviously in a power position and a place he plays very, very well. He started to show a little bit more of that movement, that capability on the opening defense previously, but then quickly got picked back up by a very aggressive swing. However, in that situation, it was a 5 versus 2. So they had that body advantage and they made sure they could push it. Here, when it's still a 4 versus 4, here, when there is a little bit more of a time constraint on G2, that might be something where Shaiko can start to light that fire that we know he can do, especially from a position just like this. G2 pick up sticks and head for a bit of a rotation now. They're going to instead angle and aim themselves towards a freezer on the far side with a bit of a split here onto washing. If they can get some of this ground to take, then it could be a good push. But as the camera goes for the reveal, it's still a lot of work left to do and not a huge amount of time left to do it.
Definitely not, but 3 players are located near the back stairs. There's definitely less pressure from BDS on the, well, laundry side of things. So that's what they're trying to go for now. With just 18 seconds on the clock, grenades are being tossed out. That gives at least the call that the freezer itself is clear. But as a Prisma gets shot, they are aware of Citizen's position. They need to start pushing in now. There's a guy right behind the bomb chassis. It's Rafal waiting to be flashed, and he's not going to be able to pick up the kills, but G2 are falling apart with the last second left. It is BDS that pick up the round, and they are starting to close that gap.
That was it, and the one thing I was sort of watching there was, well, the 2 things. I had one eye on the timer and one eye on the diffuser, which was Jonker, above the washing hatch, and they were waiting for something to happen from the freezer side, and potentially from the far side on the stairs, but that confrontation I don't think it even hit by the time the pressure side has come through. Yeah. That's that little worry of G2. When it comes to the execute, when it comes to the push, they're still working stuff out. They're still trying to find that connection. They still needed something to happen for that diffuser to feel safe to try and make that charge, and because no one felt confident enough or no one felt safe enough, it led to that. It led to a bit of a scramble, it led to a bit of a scrap, and it led to 2 kills, 2 different places, 3rd round for BDS. They've been able to get the difference down to 2, but that's blow for blow. Can they try and, for the first time this game, thread 2 rounds together?
Of course, G2, they lost one early. They used a lot of time trying to clear out that top floor, and eventually they did, but maybe they felt like they didn't have enough time left to really put a dent into E-Box and the Shaiko spot, also known as the pillar, which is why they called that rotate. Of course, we can only what's that word? Hypothesize?
Hypothesize.
It's a difficult word.
Make a hypothesis.
Yeah, I got that one. But, you know, we can only think about what the reason was for that late rotate. I think it's due to the fact that there was a lot of pressure near the back stairs. There was just, they felt there was not enough time to put a dent into them there and push through. So they wanted to go for a different take. And they might not have been ready for that, because definitely from moment 1, it seemed like they wanted to go for that push through that hatch in E-Box.
Well, Rafal was under a bit of a bout of pressure there quite early on, pulls himself away, and the spray starts to come through from a couple of different angles. They have some pings and some idea. To be fair, the drone game and that intel game we've seen from G2 so far has been really good. The positioning and the calls on where the BDS players are and this early lead into the defense has almost netted them both opening kills, and it netted them the first. There's even more pressure. There's the spray through. The reveal comes back on 2 different players who hit 2 different Prismas, but it forces them into a slightly trickier situation and allows the door to be open for Citizen. He cruises a little bit closer to this engagement. He's going to open himself up a bit of a punch hole here. There's nobody that's swinging on him as yet, but there's a Lems to actually find Jonker on the door and the shoulder, and a Lems goes, enough from me, I'm out of here.
That's for a bit of a small rotate. Wants to go back towards green, just to make sure that they don't lose too much of the bottom floor control here. Now, a lot of the rotations are being opened up by Virtue, of course. Carries a giant sledgehammer around a caber, just to make sure that they have that freedom of movement. Saves you some time. Lots of sides are being created as well. Grenades are being tossed in. A lot of utilities being used, but not everything hits, as ADSs, of course, take care of some of those pieces as well. And that grenade doesn't roll up quite enough up these stairs, and it's not going to be able to get the Banshee or the ADS out there. So G2 still will have to worry about that. In the end, at least.
In the end. But does it even matter?
That's a big question.
Because they've tried so hard and they've got so far.
Yes.
Come on, Linkin Park. Keep up, keep up.
I just didn't want to continue it.
Okay. Well, the two-punch barricade entrance leads to a silent route through here for Kayak. They've obviously lost one of their hard destructors now, and they've at least got some revenge. Lems goes down. A very late trade, technically. Not really a trade, technically. It's in an entirely different position in the map, but at least they found the guy who got their guy. And yeah, fair. It's a bit of a blow because it's still, you know, someone who went for these confrontations. It's the mute. You assume all of his gadgetry is already down. And Kayak, he almost finds the Malusi, just missed the spray, but Citizen is in a good position to pick that back up. That is that multi-pronged push that we needed from them.
Such a smart play as well. Just quickly put that one little dot in so you have the opportunity to try and go for it. As Shaiko just spots a player go past there. That is, of course, going to be that Maverick of Kayak, who now gets up onto the highway here, takes a bit of damage, but manages to stay safe for now. 15 seconds on the clock, and they need to hurry on G2's side.
Well, it's coming from every which way, and Shaiko's still going to try and lean into the pressure here, but once again, we're seeing a bit of a scramble here from G2 to actually get into the site. There's a door locked, there's Virtue picking up an important kill, but Shaiko swings round. The final 10 seconds once again bites G2.
Yeah, for sure, and where Shaiko in the early round, during the BDS attack, was not really able to pull together any kills at all. He's now starting to shine on that defense where the time starts ticking and G2 is forced to move in. That's when Shaiko is picking up all these amazing kills and chains them together to now an extra round for BDS, to now a 4-5. Just a single round deficit. And it's easily bridge that gap that they currently have. They're heading over towards the meeting in the kitchen. The Monty is coming out from Hungary. Could be interesting to see how that one will play out. Possibly to put up some pressure into green if they want to go for a tower take.
I guess the questions here with the Monty is it something that they're falling back to as a way to break through the bastion of BDS? Is it a way to give them some confidence as the lean in? Because they're droning ahead for the pressure. They're droning ahead to try and get the intel. I know I've referenced them a couple of times throughout this series so far, but there was a good point of reference with Empire was when they were at their sort of weakest for a team of exceptionally talented people. It's because they felt cautious, because they felt slow, because they were checking and rechecking everything. They weren't fully trusting themselves. They weren't fully trusting their intel, in the words of Joystick, when they were quoted on this, and then finding that fire and that flavor again is why they've been able to come to a return to force. It's a little bit of a similar story right now for G2. As I said, that early drowning, fantastic. Finding those players, finding that sort of breakdown of where everybody is, but that late push, is it because they're trying to go back to that early game that's doing them so well of we need everything written down and droned before we go for it?
I think it might be the opposite. I think they drone quite a bit, right, during their pre-game. They use quite a bit of time to get rid of the players, but at that point, they have 1:30 left to go for their setup. Now, usually you would say that is enough, but that is where they seem to struggle. They don't really seem to be opening up all the walls that they want to get opened up. You saw this well with Kayak. He decided to go for the highway on the roof, you know, the balcony, instead of opening up attic to start pushing internally. That got him into trouble in the end. So they just go for shortcuts, I'd say, in their last 30, 40 seconds, which really haven't been too thankful for them.
Well, that loud clunking will give the idea of where that Monty is and what he wants to do, and that's to take this corner. As you said, they're using him as a way in here. They're using him as that sort of step, and sure, the first person to meet would be the smoke, but it doesn't last very long. Kayak's able to pick up the cover there, and that is such a huge pick. Kayak with another one. Citizen was waiting for the drop and the double there, but here is that pickup player that's been able to lead themselves in. Ranchiro slips away. They're going to know that he's gone for a bit of a route round underneath, but that gives them the idea that there's only really two players on the site itself, and now there's only one. Jonka swings round, gets another pickup here. Rafal is left a little bit wanting as they found the meeting room entirely empty, and now in a post-plant situation. Great take from great intel, but not enough now. Kayak with the triple. The drone gives the read that they've found their way underneath, and here, when they needed it most, G2, they've exploded.
There you have it, a Monty really working out, and I said it before the round even started, possibly to push through green, just to make sure that they don't really have all the pressure that comes through. Kayak as well was in the middle of the site already at the first 30 seconds of the site. Everybody on the defense will be spotted if they move as soon as that drone is active. No worries, it's not active over the entire round. You have three uses of 3 seconds, and there's also that 3-second prior call that comes through. So there's plenty of time to get yourself in a safe position, or to make sure that you're standing still. It's just a bit awkward when you're in the middle of a gunfight and that thing goes off. Then you're probably best on just continuing that gunfight. Either way, 2 rounds is what G2 has. 2 rounds, or 2 opportunities to lock out this first map here on Oregon and make sure that they take the lead to start off with.
I guess it was a conversation as well, based on the map selection, was Bank was Curiosities, because it's not really a good G2 map, but it is quite a good BDS map. I guess Oregon, we expect it to be a BDS map here as well, so maybe with the momentum, if they can lock this out here, going into Bank, which was their selection, we might be able to see something here from G2, and it's been a bit of a surprise showing so far for a lot of us, but let's see if they can keep that drive up. Obviously, Citizen on a 7-2 after the rehost, where he was on about a 12. Yeah, it was a 12 or a 13 to 3, has had a blinder.
It's definitely still showing up huge here for the side of G2, and will have to continue to do so, at least for these next 2 rounds, to make sure that they lock in map number 1. Of course, everything is reset to 0 right afterwards. When we head over to map 2 Bank, that is going to be the worry, potentially, as well. 1 spot coming out of the E1D. Someone that will not be seen actually by Hungary. Knows that he's on the bottom of the stairs. It's Renshiro on the back stairs. First plateau. Just trying to get some information out. Being on those chems. Calling out to the rest of the team where he thinks the attack is going to be coming from. And you might not see them on the chems, but by the way that they die, you're also able to get some information here as an impact. Well, at least worry Kayak a little bit.
Renshiro is keeping an eye. They have that drone with the watch, and obviously they have the Lion as well. There goes the cam. There's the reveal that they are hot and heavy and kind of holding it off here, but that is going to allow Kayak to at least finish the work they need to do. It's a very important part of the play here, and there's nothing that is instantly trying to bite back against it. Just finishing off, they'll do another line, and then the whole hatch falls apart. Now, they can utilize this space and utilize this clarity to see if they can potentially burn their way down. The drone will go through first. They still have over a minute, but again, that end round timer is often the most decisive factor in a G2 approach here, and they've really got to start seeing if they can apply some pressure, potentially try and push some of these BDS players out of a position, because otherwise, they're still thoroughly locked in here.
Still a bunch of grenades left available on the G2 side. We have 1 on Virtue, 2 on Kayak, and 2 on Citizen. They have the opportunity here to force these last members of BDS out of the back line and really start pushing. As the first ones do start popping, it's another one to come right around the corner. The question is G2 going to drop right after them as the grenades just keep on going in?
Now, this is the longest we've had every single player on the board now, so you assume it's about to explode as soon as the push starts to come through. Shaiko is in a position to swing around here onto the door. The blinds start to come through, don't quite catch him. There's the E1D and the smokes to lock the door as well. A lot of people can't quite see, but Renshiro finds clarity, and Alems gets the follow-up there. It's battle back and forth, but finally, they've been able to take some ground, and with only a handful of seconds, the diffuser cold, they've got to see if they can find this last firefight. BDS locked in on the back line, gets the first take, and it's the smoke on Citizen, just on the freezer swing.
Had to go for it. The Banshee there really slowed him down, and as you saw, he hesitated a little bit. He went through, the smoke came through, he went back, but then realized there's no time left and had to go through again. And that bit of hesitation is what killed him there in the end. Otherwise, it could have been the opportunity for him to lock it off, but we're heading to another round. It's 5-6, and BDS is looking to bring it back to an overtime situation. And Kids and Dorms is where they want to do so. Up to the top floor we go. And G2 need to attack once more. The Lion is being shown, but might be 6-picked out like we saw happen with the Monty before. There you have it. 6-pick comes through. And it will go back to a floor. So that is an operator we have seen before. Hungary, the one that is really flexing it out here. Just picking whatever is necessary. And of course, this Flores with the RC Retiro. There's a lot of information, a lot of utility that he can gain. Especially if you look at the, well, bulletproof gadgets that are there for BDS. If they would have taken care of the Banshee in that previous round, Citizen wasn't slowed down as much, had a potential to actually kill BDS there.
BDS, 1 round separates you from OT, but remember, this is your map, so you kind of want to put some pressure back in here, even as just a lead-in to the 2 that we potentially have ahead of us, or maybe 1, depending on if they can replicate the game that went on a little bit earlier. Obviously, both these teams have already performed better than Na'Vi did, who were already quickly dispatched by a ferocious-looking Empire. Here, though, BDS, they've taken their time out, they've had the conversation, and as I pointed out in the previous round, the longest we'd had before an opening engagement had led to any sort of success, let alone just an opening engagement. The first scratches came under the minute mark. There was nothing that found themselves butting heads, and here it seems like BDS are doing a similar thing. We've seen them flirt with danger so often, and this time round, they're just not really playing that game. Sure, Alems is in a position here where he's in Zulu Corridor, but last time he was in meeting, or he was in kitchen, or he was trying to find his way via dining. They're playing a little bit slower now.
There's a little pre-placed drones on the side of G2 to trying to get the information that is necessary to guide Citizen to his first kill. Rafale does have an open hatch to potentially drop back from. You see Citizens currently on that pillar, just waiting for a potential drop or push to come through. And as Alems is about to swing around the corner on the freezer side of things, just to help a little bit, just to protect the rotation possibilities a little bit, he might just as well be the very first victim of this round.
Oh, they are so close to lining it up, but Citizen once again strikes through, finds Alems, who has once again suffered on that early engagement here. Rafale is going to be the next step through on a multi-step process, and as you said, a lot of the pre-placed drones are still calling, but here it is. Citizen is going to drone for himself around the corner, gets the drop, and Rafale pulls out of there. He's going to see if he can stop. Sort of hoped that they would come through as the burn starts to come on the second story, but a minute 20 once again. They're trying to find their way through, and it's always worth remembering that the last time here they were in a 5 versus 3 before they went for their push, and they still couldn't quite get the connection they needed. Shaiko able to thread a couple of kills on the site itself.
They need to get the added control here. Everything is set up for it, and the Citizen is coming right from below. He's being quite careful about someone being available in that kitchen or able to continue to stand there. A grenade will be tossed in and can catch Shaiko off guard. No, but does get the ADS though. Continues to push on as he does get taken out, as he gets the kill into BDS. There's only 2 members left on BDS though. It's Rafale and Shiro. They need to clutch this out if they want to live on, but it's Rafale left now and he's not on the site. Are G2 aware of this?
Well, he's trying to desperately make his way back up the bottom of White Stairs now, and Yonka's able to theoretically get the diffuser around there. Spraying and Scrappy and Virtue threads it together, and the first map goes the way of G2.
There you have it, the first one goes their way, and it could have been locked off just a little bit earlier if only that 5-1 scoreline would have come through. But G2 got that first map, got it here in Oregon, and they're heading over to Bank very soon. That one is the questionable one, given their, well, performances on Bank that we saw during Stage 3. It wasn't too flashy. This one